All right, traders, welcome to the official AMA for the CWAP Auto Trader Algo. You guys have seen the presentation by now. Some of you have owned it for a little while. Some of you probably just getting it for the first time. So welcome and glad to be here with you. So couple things we need to cover. Of course, we can't guarantee results. Products and services are for educational purposes. Okay. There is risk in trading, right? All right, so let's take a look at the CWAP algo. All right, so just to kind of recap on how this works and the signals, we'll start with that. Then what we're going to do is we'll go into the specifics of the settings, and then we'll spend some time going through an example of how to optimize the system. So I always like to leave you, full of great insights on how to make the most of the tool, right? So the first thing is we need to understand how does it work. So what this is doing on this chart here is we have the market is, this algo is plotting the zigzags, and you can set the structure strength. So the higher the number, and we'll go over this in the settings, but the higher the number, the less zigzags you're going to have. So for instance, if you had a lower number, you might see that. A lower number might look something like that, right? Or if you want to see it more smooth, you just use a larger number. Okay, so it is plotting that structure for us. And then what happens is once we have a break of a previous structure level that we can, like we can see here, how it broke through this pivot. Okay, when that happens, the system automatically anchors a CWAP off of the low right here. And this kind of starting to look like a little stick figure guy. But when the system comes in here, when it breaks structure, it'll plot a CWAP here. And then once we get far enough beyond that break of structure and we pull back into the CWAP, that's what's going to execute the trade, coming back into CWAP. So this is a pullback. It's it's trading the trend based on pullbacks and based on market structure. So you've got several things kind of working to your advantage, is that you have a system that is trading directionally with structure automatically, just as the way that it trades. And you're also trading based on the trend and trading a reasonable, really great location, I might add. Now, to give you some insight, I've been trading with CWAPs myself for years, and I do very, very well trading with these. So I love trading with CWAP. It's been my go-to for a long time. Algo-based stops. So how do the stops and targets work? So here we can see our break of structure. And let me pull up the chat box too, actually. Feel free to ask questions as we go, guys, too. Feel free to be interactive and happy to answer questions along the way. This is, we just kind of go through things as we go. And yeah, anyway, feel free to chime in. All right, so we've got our break of structure here. And then what happens is the system is going to anchor the CWAP off of the low that caused this break of structure. The market's going to come into the CWAP and it's going to trade the entry right at the edge of the CWAP intra-bar. Okay. What happens next is the stop placement and targets are going to be set according to your distances that you've set. Now, if you use an algo-based stop, what's going to happen is this level is your 100% level, okay? So if you set it to 100, it's going to set the stop right at the edge of the far edge of the channel. If you set it to 120%, it's going to move it 20% lower. If you set it to 75%, it's going to go right in the middle between the midpoint and the edges of the channel. 50%, 25%, 0%, you get the idea. Okay. So that's going to help you really dial in where your stops need to go, which is, in my opinion, something that I would highly, highly recommend that you do. So here's an example of a long break of structure, pull back to the CWAP. It plots all of this stuff for you, does it 100% automated. Enter at the edge of the zone. Targets and stops are set according to your rules that you've set into the algo, which you can modify. You can also optimize based on those numbers. There's really a lot you can do with this. All right, here's short, break of structure, came back, pulled back to the CWAP channel. There's your short trade. Okay. The beauty of this also is that, every stop is going to be different, right? You might have, let's go back here. You might have this trade, it might be 25 ticks. The next trade might be smaller, might only be 15 ticks. The next trade might be bigger, might be 35 ticks. Well, obviously, if you're trading a static number of contracts, then the risk is different on every trade, which is kind of the enemy for risk management, especially if you're trading for prop firms. See, with prop firms, you really want to dial in your risk per trade, and you want it to be ultimately pretty close to the same thing every trade. Well, if you're, going from 15 to 35 ticks, that's a huge difference in the number of contracts that you should be trading to dial in that risk. So this algo will automatically size your positions based on your dollar risk per trade. So if you tell the algo risk $500 per trade, on a 15 tick trade, you might have, I don't know, just go with, it doesn't matter really, but let's say you have 15 versus 30, obviously, it's going to, if it took one contract here, it's going to put on two contracts there as an example. So it sizes all of that for you, which is fantastic. And it's one of the best things about these algos. So for prop trading purposes, you're set. Okay. So let's go to, what do we got? NQ, MES. Another one on NQ, which didn't test for me for whatever reason. I must have set something wrong. Let's go to ES. Let's look at ES. All right, so what I'm going to do is go to the chart, and we're going to take a look at what all the different settings do. Okay, so that's our next step. Everybody good so far? How you guys doing out there? Give me a yes in the chat box if you're with me and you can hear me, you can see the screen, you're following along, all is well, life is beautiful. Cool, good to go. Can you trade more than one market at a time? Yes, absolutely you can. Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah, you could trade as much as really your system will allow. I would expect no issues with a standard decent system. I mean, I've run 4 markets at the same time on an algo with no issues. So yeah, absolutely. You could trade more than one market for sure. Just you would have different charts pulled up, and each chart would be a different market. Another factor is, oftentimes we have traders who have multiple algos, right? And they want to trade multiple algos on the same, on the same market. Well, you can't really do that on the same account. You could do it on different accounts. However, let's say you want to trade one algo, or you want to trade 2 algos on ES, right? Well, what you do is you just set one up on the mini, and then one on the micro. Okay. So then you would be trading 2 algos on ES at the same time on the same account. Okay. So good deal. So let's take a look at this trade, and let's take a look at the settings. So first off, we're going to just plot out what we're seeing here. So here's the pivot, came all the way down to here, came all the way back up and broke right here. As soon as this happens, CWAP is going to plot off of this as an anchor. And then if we get a pullback into this channel, it takes the trade, plots your targets and stops. Now, in this case, this is set to stop loss bandwidth of 1.1. So what that means is that this is 10% below the edge of the zone. So it's 110%, or 1.1 is, 1 and the same, okay? So this is 10% as a buffer beyond the other edge of the channel. Then the target in this case is set to profit target 1 tick. Ticks. Enable
multiplier.
codes. Oh yeah, it's okay.
Multiplier of the excursion to the farthest excursion after the break.
Yes, okay, got it. Cool. Good deal. So this is using the algo for the targets as well. So in this case, it's set to a 1. So what that means is that whatever the high is here, that's where the target's going to be based on this as a multiple. So if it's set to 1, which it is, you can see how it's set right to the edge of where that pivot is. Was the high, the swing high that led to the pullback, and it's going to trade to that if you use the algo for targets. Okay. If you had it set to 80%, it'd be kind of in there. If you had it set to 120%, might be kind of up here. You can set Fibonacci numbers, hint, wink, right? Maybe you're in a very, very trending market and you wanted to set it to whatever, a 138, something like that. You can do that too. Okay, so whatever you want to do there. You can also use risk reward. So if your entry's here and your stop's there, you could set it to 1-to-1 or 2-to-1. You could do it that way as well for
Why don't
targeting.
you explain how you do that? You have to disable the algo target.
Yep, I'll go through all that. Yep.
Okay.
Well, let's go top to bottom because I think that's probably the most reasonable way to do it. But let's start at the top. So swing strength is set to 14, which is actually a pretty decent size number. Now, why would we use a swing strength of 14? Well, it's because we're on a volume chart of 2250 on MES, which is going to be right around a minute, give or take, of range and in the volume. So this is to say that the average volume per minute is going to be about 2250. Okay. So obviously some bars are going to be faster than a minute, but it's going to average around there. Okay. So with a fast chart, which a minute is fast, you want to use a larger swing strength requirement because it's going to give you more fluid trades. You don't want to be trading every little zig and zag in the market. Might be good one day, might blow you up the next day. Bottom line is you're just going to be making your brokerage is going to get rich off commissions. Okay, so but for larger time frame charts, you might use a smaller swing strength. Okay, but that's what that does. Again, it's just plotting less zigs and zags if with a higher number. Include wicks in the pivots. Just include the wicks. That's the high of the bar versus the close. Just leave it on. Minimum boss line length. This means how many bars are required in the pullback before you get a break. So this would be bar 1, bar 2, bar 3, 4, 5, 6, so on. And we have this set to 3, which is a pretty aggressive number. And it's saying that we don't need a lot of bars in the pullback. However, the swing strength and the boss line length are going to be somewhat in tune with each other. So a number of 3 with a swing strength of 14 is going to have literally no bearing. It's almost it's completely irrelevant on this setting because this is saying you have to sweep 14 bars to get a new wave. So this is going to be mostly obsolete on this case. Okay. So those are kind of tied in together. A lot of this stuff can impact other settings. And let me actually expand this out even more so we can see better. CWAP standard deviation. Just like any other channel or bands, you have standard deviations. This is going to be set to 0.9, meaning that you actually have 0.45 on either end. So it's like a 0.45 deviation. The way that they've coded this, the team, is that it's diameter, not radius. Okay, so it's the full channel. What we found in lots and lots and lots of testing is that 0.9 is like the golden number. So in terms of optimizing, we've spent so much time going through that. It's probably best to just leave it at 0.9. Now you can change it, sure, but it's going to impact other things as well, which we'll touch on in a second here. Ticks per cluster level. Okay, so a volume cluster is going to be the 3 highest levels of volume for each bar. So if you had, you're probably familiar with volume profiles, and it might look something like this, and you've got your point of control is going to be the highest level of volume in that session, right? Well, in this case, think of it like this is the point of control plus 2 levels. Okay, so it's the 3 highest levels of volume in each bar, concentrated volume. Okay, so they have to be, they have to be subsequential. They have to be consecutive is what the word I was looking for. Sorry. So they have to be consecutive, the 3 levels of the highest volume consecutively in each bar. So think of it like it's usually going to be the point of control plus 2 levels. Okay. So it is using these 3 levels to calculate the CWAP versus in a VWAP, you're taking the volume for the entire bar. And in the CWAP, you would just be using these 3 levels to calculate. Okay. So that's the difference there. So with the ticks per cluster level, say you have a market with a lot of ticks, namely NQ, MNQ, right? Well, these markets have a lot of ticks per bar. So in this case, some traders may choose to lump some of those ticks together. So like if you have an ES that has an 8-tick range, let's say, and NQ, actually, let's make this even math. We'll say 10 because it's probably closer to 10 anyway. And NQ might have 40 ticks per minute. Then you may want to lump 4 ticks together or 3 ticks together in NQ so that you can use your ES settings into NQ. Okay. Now this is just an example of some things that you can do. I think it's very relevant for, say NQ or something with high tick count. Obviously on an ES or crude or even some of the other markets there, you're not gonna lump those together. You're just gonna keep it at 1. You might even do that for like higher time frames. Let's say some of you want to, swing trade or take bigger trades or use bigger time frames. Then you might look to bundle some of those together as well. I'm not sure the question, Carl. Maybe if you can elaborate on that a little bit for us, that'd be great. Max CWAP length after boss. So the boss is break of structure. Okay, so that's this. This is the boss. So this is saying how many candles max do you want the market to continue to move away from the CWAP before you take the trade or before it's too late to take a trade? So this is set to 32, which means that it has to pull back into this channel within 32 bars, or we're not going to take the trade if it comes back into that CWAP. The reason being is you may have something like this, let's say. Say you get a boss break here, and you've got your CWAP, and it never comes in. But now you've got a new boss break. And you've got another CWAP right here. And you want to take that trade. Okay, so you take that trade. And then finally it comes all the way back into this lower CWAP, and it enters you in a trade, and you get slammed. Because the market has started to rotate, because the trend is over, and you need to get a pullback on a higher time frame, and so on. This is going to avoid taking those trades. It's going to make you more likely to only take the most recent CWAP versus if you have multiples. And we'll see if we have an example of this in here somewhere. Let me see. That one traded.
You might have to have a longer length setting
Yeah,
to see
probably
it,
do.
but
Oh, here we go. So you see how this CWAP kind of cuts off here? And it just stops plotting. And that's because this got way too far beyond that CWAP to want to trade it. And so the next CWAP plots here. And then this didn't take a trade because it was after hours. But yeah, so what this is saying is that you don't want the CWAP to keep plotting if you want to trade the most recent stuff. And so that's what that setting can do. Okay. Minimum bars outside then means how many bars do you require before you're willing to take a trade on that CWAP? If you have something that barely breaks above and then comes right back into CWAP, Let me find a cleaner trade that we can look at as an example. Let's look at this one. So this is saying how many bars open, high, low, close below the boss do you need before you can take a trade? So you're not going to take a trade on the breakout bar most times. You may not even take a trade if it's still kind of overlapping here. But this is the first bar that has an open, high, low, close below the boss line. At the close of this bar, that's when it's enabled to trade. And in this case, it went a little bit further, came back, tested it, and off it goes. So that's what that is doing, one bar. With that one, again, we've kind of seen that, 1 to 2 bars, 3 bars, that kind of thing is probably going to be your go-to. Okay. So that's what the settings are in here. As far as stops, you have, again, we can do fixed cost per trade. We have it set to 500 because it's an even round number. Entry order type, market or limit. We would probably suggest market because it's coming into the CWAP. It's going to enter the trade based on that. It's not going to enter the trade based on bar close. So you might as well use market anyway. Okay, enable algo stop loss. You have a minimum and maximum allowable stop. Now, there are reasons you may choose to use this, such as if you're a prop trader and you have a max number of contracts. And if you don't want to exceed the max number of contracts, then you set a larger minimum ticks. And what that's going to do then is if you're below that minimum ticks, it's not going to take the trade because the lower the ticks, the greater the number of contracts it's going to trade. So you set a minimum number of ticks for that trade. Another example would be if you're trading your own money and you don't want to hit margin issues because you're trading maybe multiple trades or whatever the case might be, or maybe you're using up margin, or maybe your brokerage has higher margin requirements. Then again, you can set minimum number of ticks for your stop, and that's going to help you not breach those contract numbers. Okay. So if you enable the algo stop loss, it's going to use the other edge, as we talked about, as your stop level. This is going to be, a 1. If you go 110, 1.1, it's going to be right there. It's 110%. If you go, 0.75 would be like in the middle between the midpoint and the far edge of the channel. Okay, so that's what that does. If you disable it, you've got a couple options: static ticks or ATR. ATR, you could set the period, you could set the number of ATRs, might use an ATR multiple of 2 or something like that. You can do that. Most traders are going to use the algo stop loss because it's going to really help you position size. Then for targets, you have the algo target, which we talked about is, set to based on where the swing low was before it pulled back. Okay, so if you set it to 1, again, it's going to be right at the swing low. 120 might be here, 80 might be here, and so on. Okay, so that's what that does. If you disable that, then you have a few options. You have static ticks, ATR again, but now you have risk reward. So if you go to risk reward, you might say, I want it to just be 1-to-1. You can do that too. So you got a bunch of different options there. And if you enable this, then this really doesn't play into the first position. There's more training on this stuff in the brain training, which is in the members area. So a lot of the members area, the brain training is going to go over start and stop times, invalid windows, day of the week, money management, all that stuff is in there. So we're not going to spend time going over that because we already have another training for that. So definitely go through that so you understand how all this other stuff works. All right. So I think that pretty much covers us. And again, minimum and maximum profit target. you can set those accordingly. Most traders are going to use the stop more often than the others. So there's ES. What questions do you have so far? Everybody good so far? Feeling good? Cool. So let's see. We'll get some questions that came through. Let me just look through and make sure. I know Jeff's getting the questions for us, which is great. Those were settings for ES. Yes. General. Okay. Optimizations. Yeah, cool. All right, good deal. So let's go in and let's work through an optimization together. Okay. Somebody give me a market other than ES or NQ or the micros of those. So give me a different market. Is it crude or do you want to look at something else? What do you want to take a look at? We can look at any of these markets. And we'll try to go through an optimization. Okay, we got a couple votes for crude, one for gold, one for RTY. Anybody else have anything they want to chime in on? Majority wins. MCL. Cool. So it looks like CL is probably the winner. Yep. Do you guys want to do full size or micro? Full size or micro? We've already got settings for NQ, so we're good there. And we got mostly micros coming through. Excuse me for 1 second. I'm just going to grab something. I'll be right back.
You can always, there's a question about whether you need a different template for minis and micros. And you can always try testing let's say you have a micro template and you can try testing it on a mini. Might be a good starting point, but I always like to re-optimize for the different contract, even though they're very, very highly correlated. Usually you'll find settings be a bit different, especially since these are volume based and there's obviously different volumes between the two. So I hope that answers your question.
Perfect. All right. Just wanted to grab a cough drop. My voice is kind of giving out. Allergies are starting to kick in. So just want to make it easier on myself here. All right. So let's go in here and let's go through backtesting and optimizations. There's a bit of a science to this. There's no right or wrong way to do it, technically. But just like anything, there are some things that you do that will give you better results. So we're going to obviously look to highlight those. Everything here is in Eastern time. Yep. So if you're not in Eastern time, what you need to do is change the timing of the settings. If you're in Central time, then you subtract an hour, okay? And so on. So you can use volume charts, you can use time charts, whatever you like to use. It's whatever you want to do. Here's my thinking on volume versus minute. On most algos, not all of them, on most algos, you want to be 3 minutes and up, 3 minute, 5 minutes, so on. You're probably good to use minute bars. Okay. You're going to get less trades. Obviously, the 1 minute time frame is going to give you more trades. With when you're in, like, let's say you want to use a 1 minute bar. My suggestion would be anything less than 3-minute bars. You want to go to a volume bar. So you would get the volume equivalent. That would be, yeah, that would be my suggestion there. Okay. So, and the way that you can, a simple way that you can figure out what's your average volume per bar. A simple way would be you can just put of ATR on volume, like a volume moving average or something like that, and then that'll kind of show you where your average is. So, and you want to do it, specifically to your session. So, like if you're trading, at 10 o'clock, well, you don't want to use pre-market volume to figure out what size volume bar to use. So, yeah, cool. So, all right. So, what is step one? The first thing we want to do in optimizing is we want to add some assumptions. Okay, we're just going to add some reasonable numbers that we think will work on the algo. Then we're going to go through and we'll look at the charts and just see what we're looking at. That's kind of our starting point. And then we'll dive in from there. So let's go ahead and pull up MCL. And we're going to do the June contract because I don't know if we've totally converted over to July, and we'll just go with June anyway. Another tip is you always start wide, then you narrow. You want to get the trades into, looking at them and all that before you start filtering everything out. If you filter everything out from the get-go, then you're not going to have any trades to work with. So start wide, narrow from there. Let's do a 1 minute to start. It's probably not what we're going to stick with, but I want to see it. We want to try to make our lives as simple as possible. And let's grab like 2 months worth of data. We're going to go from March 18th until the 15th. Okay. Time might be better on the micros. Yeah. Micro crude is pretty low volume. We'd probably do something like a 100 volume on micro crude. Swing strength. All right. So since we are using a smaller fractal, in other words, the bar size, we're going to set a higher swing strength. I'm going to start by 10. I'm going to include the wicks, minimum boss lines, 3, that's fine. 0.9 for the deviations. Ticks per cluster, 1 is fine. Max CWAP length, I'm good with 20 for now. Let's actually bump it to 50 just to get all of them in there. Minimum bars, 1 is good. Minimum stop, actually, I'm probably good with 12. Enable algo stop loss bandwidth. I'm going to go 1.2. Let's go actually something different. Let's go 0.8. Enable algo profit target. Again, I'm going to go 0.8. So that means I'm going 80% to the high. Minimum profit target, whatever, I'll just say 8. Start time 9:05 because of the pit open on crude. We want to give ourselves a little bit of time. The other thing you could do too is you could start really wide with the times and then narrow it in. So we'll do that to start. We'll go 3 to 3. Skip days. This is actually pretty important. You don't want to find yourself optimizing for days that are completely outside of the norm of regular trading activity, right? So the first thing you want to do is look at holidays. Well, I'm actually not testing back to January, but I'm going to leave these in here anyway. We've got, looks like President's Day and Martin Luther King and New Year's Day. We've got 3/29, which we can go look at.
Good Friday.
Yep, Good Friday. That makes sense. Oops, I just deleted one.
That was Memorial Day, so it's not even happened yet.
Yeah,
we just put them in there just to, because these are the
ahead of the
templates we
game.
share, so we might as well have them in there. That's why we put them.
Yep. The other thing I like to do is I like to look at the news and figure out what major news releases came out on certain days. And I like to just strike those from the back test because I don't even want to know you know, what's happening on those days. So like this week, right, we had CPI on the 15th. So I might go in, and really it's CPI and FOMC are the big ones that I'm looking at. So I'll go in and put, this happened on May 15th. So we're going to block that day. And then now I can go in here and look at CPI and find the dates. April 10, March 12th, February 13, right? So April 10, March 12th. So let's add those. So we'll go April 10 and March 12th. Now this is just setting myself up for success. Do you have to do this? No. But if you're going to be doing all this work to start, you don't probably have to do this on ongoing optimizations. But for a starting point, garbage in, garbage out, right? Get the right settings to start with. Make your life as easy as possible. Okay. All right, so let's go back to the week by week. And I want to go find, if anybody knows the last FOMC day, let me know. I can't remember when it was because, hell, I don't remember much once it's gone. Let's go back. It wasn't that week. I think I missed this week. There it is. All right, so May 1st. And we can go in and we can look at what's the history there. May 1st, March 20. So we go and May 1st. There we go. Cool. Now,
Sorry, can I just add something there?
yeah, of course.
One way to use this. So when I was working on templates for the event yesterday, I found myself in a situation where I had a pretty good template, performance was good, but there was this one day, no matter what I would change, was always a losing day. It was like 4 trades, all losers. And I was tempted to, remove that day using this edit dates tool. I don't think I wound up doing that, but when I went and looked at that day, I think it was May 3rd. That was actually a non-farm payrolls day. And on that particular day, there must have been a lot riding on it because in the pre-market, the market did a huge move in the pre-market, and then it snapped right back up. And then the rest of the day was just kind of chop and slop going nowhere. And those 4 trades happened in that chop and slop because there was no trending at all going on because of the aftermath of that giant move in the pre-market.
Yep.
So one way to approach this is if I'm trying to find good settings, I might skip that day using that feature, so I can really isolate what normally happens on normal days and just ignore what happens on really unusual days like that. So it may not be something that you always do, but it's a way to get at what the good settings are without screwing them up by having it including a day that's just so wacky like that.
Yeah, exactly. It's an anomaly. It's not business as usual. And if you choose to let it run on those days, well, that's up to you. But I think you don't want to back test based on that because it's not the norm of trading. So I've got some kind of initial parameters set in here. I'm not expecting anything great. I'm just expecting to go in and look at the chart. So I've got 67 trades, which frankly, I'd like to see more, especially considering the hours. So first thing I'm going to do is go look at the time of day. I'm not worried about equity curves and all that stuff just yet, but I do want to look at half hour of day based on entry time. So this one, was really not great in the afternoon, and it was kind of okay before then. So really nothing too much writing on this yet. And the next thing I want to do is go in and look at the chart and just see what am I looking at here. So let's go back. Let's go back to like maybe midway through, and then we'll just kind of go in and look at some of the trades. Now, what I'm looking at on the trades, the first thing with this particular algo I'm looking at is the swing strength. Is it too big? Is it too small? So that'll be the first thing that I really want to dial in. And you can see with MCL, you've got a lot of gaps, in the bars, and it's really not looking too clean here. So this is probably going to tell us that we may not be able to use a 1-minute chart. We might have to go to the volume chart here because that's just not going great. The other thing that we could look at, I've never tried it. We could pull up a range chart just to see what it's like. I mean, you don't know until you look at it and experiment, right? Could be the greatest thing in the world. I don't know. We'll look at this and then we'll go look at a volume chart as well. That answers that question. All right, let's go to volume and let's go 100. Let's see what this looks like. We might have to actually go down from 100, but we'll see. So we had about 67 trades on the 1 minute. This actually went down a little bit, so a little bit less trades, although it is a little bit more profitable, which is great. Good starting point. If you ever want to go back and look at your historical stuff, you can just go show log, and that'll pull up all these, so you can go back and review. Let's bump this down to 80 and see what that looks like. As a starting point, I always want to try to get around 100 trades into the optimization as a first round and then filter from there. Why did that go down? Less volume should be more bars. Should be more trades, but let's go down to 50 just as an extreme and see. Yeah, that's looking better. There's only 25 trades. Huh. That is kind of strange. Let's drop the swing strength a little bit here. Let's go to 5 and see what we're looking at here, and then we can go in and start looking at the chart. I think probably what's happening is when we're dropping the volume, we're getting too many bars outside of the boss breaks. All right, so let's go look at the chart before we do anything else. Oh, a minimum trade size. That's what we're hitting. That's why we're getting less trades. Yeah, 8. We can bring this down to 10. Let's see what that looks like. I certainly wouldn't go lower than that. Not on micros, especially. You're going to get hit pretty hard with commissions if you do. 33 versus 25. So we do have more trades, but let's go back up on the volume. I don't like that. Let's go to 80. Okay, so we've got about 56 trades now. Let's go check out the chart and see what we can find here. See, I like how this is interacting with the CWAPs. Even though I may not be getting trades on these, I still want to look at what does my structure look like. I'm just trying to get a feel for the settings on the algo itself first. There we go. Looks good. Let's go to this day. It's a little bit tight on structure and stuff, but I actually don't really mind that. I'm looking for something that's a little bit more active on this market. So I think I'm good there. What I want to do though is look at bringing down the minimums just a little bit more. See what that does before I get too far.
That's probably one of the first places to look when you're not getting trades where you think you should be. Because it's, you're just, if you drop down the scale of everything, then that you have to drop that as well.
All right, so let's bump this up now and see what does that do to us. I'm just kind of getting my initial settings together, and then we'll go in and optimize. Yep. Bigger. We need more zigs and zags. So that's not going to work. So we'll go back to 5 as a starting point. That I can optimize. So I'm not worried about that yet. That's fine. All right. So let's run this one more time. And then I want to go look at the hour of the day. Now, one thing to consider with crude versus, say, NQ, ES, that sort of thing. One thing to keep in mind is that crude is not generally a trending market. It is normally an oscillating market. If crude only ever went up and to the right, we'd all be in big trouble. Inflation would be a disaster, prices would go up, cost of everything would go up because it's all tied to oil. So we don't want it going just straight up. S&P though, everybody wants the S&P to go up. Everybody wants NASDAQ to go up. So different kind of concept, right? So here we can clearly see 9 to noon, call it 9 to 11:30 is really the sweet spot for this. So I'm going to actually just completely cancel this out because there's no point in optimizing something that's not even relevant. So we'll go 9:05 to 11:30. We'll run it that way. We'll go in and start looking at it. So I don't want to optimize something that's on a time frame that's completely irrelevant to me. I don't want to spend time jumping down the rabbit hole only to find out, well, it's really great before the market on these 5 trades and everything else is a disaster. Well, what's the point? So let's go back in. So already I'm starting to see some better numbers here. This actually looks really good. 1,500 versus 8,400 and drawdown versus profit. Profit factor is decent. Winning percentage is decent. We got a little bit better than a 1-to-1 on our trades. So, this is a good starting point. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. So we'll use this as our starting point, and then we'll go through and do some optimization. I will say this is one of the easier systems to optimize. It's really easy to get great settings with this system. That's why it's one of our top systems. It always does well. All right, so we're going to save this as, we'll call it MCL starting point. Now we're going to go in and we're going to go to optimization up here. Okay. So we go to optimization. Now you're going to notice most of the time, it's not going to pull over your settings. See, like here it says 12 and we had it at 8. So what I need to do is now I need to reload the settings and then go back to optimization and then they'll carry over. It's a ninja thing. It's a weird quirk. It is what it is. That's your workaround. Okay. All right. So swing strength, I absolutely want to optimize this. I'm going to go 3 to 20. Pretty big range to start with. I'm not going to optimize anything else. I'm just going to start there. I'm going to run these 18 back tests and see what we come up with. So that whole rant that I did on crude versus the equities, that's going to be partially the reason that you don't get as many trades on crude as you do on the others. Also has to do with tick count and volume charts and all that kind of plays into it too. But goes. Said it was 3-4 minutes, but I don't think it'll take that long. Yeah, it's going pretty quick. Okay. Oddly enough, 5 was still the best. A little bit less profit here. Cool. We'll leave this at 5. Let's do that and that. And I think because we're not getting a ton of trades, I think that's why it's not really a major issue. The other thing I want to do is set this to net profit versus profit ratio. All right, so 5 is kind of our number. So what we could do too is we're kind of just getting into the optimization. So since 5 is the number, we might go 4 to 8 and just leave that as a range to test against some of the others that we might be testing. Minimum boss line length, I'm not changing it. Not changing that because I've tested it a million times and I know that's kind of the number to go to. What I do want to test is max length. So we're going to go 20 to 50, but I'm not going to go by ones because we'll be here all day. Instead, I'm going to go by 5s. And I'm going to run these two against each other and see what we come up with. A lot of this stuff will kind of, cause one thing to shift. So with this one, you do want to kind of run some of these settings at the same time because some of them will move other factors. So this will take a couple minutes. Anybody have any questions while we're running this? Anything I can go over for you while you're waiting? Well, the benefit of optimization is that you always have optimized settings. The better the optimization, the better it's going to perform. You always want to keep up with optimizing. And once you have, we kind of look at like your, sort of your what I would call your true north. It's kind of like what keeps you in line, and then you have your guardrails. And the guardrails are like, for the swing strength. If I know that 5 is typically my number that I go with for swing strength, then I might go 4 to 7. I know because I don't want to go too far down. That might be my guardrails. If I start testing 1 to 30 and then the bars after I'm going 1 to 100, you're just going to get some Frankenstein thing that's not going to make you any money because it's just going to be curve fit for the time that you're testing. So you want to kind of, look at having some range to your testing to make your life simpler. It'll also make your back testing and optimizations a lot quicker. Yeah, that's what we're doing now, Lewis. This is what we're doing now. Yeah, exactly. It's not tweaking the strategy necessarily, just the entry and exits of the trade is mainly what you're looking at.
I think there are also additional videos in the download area in the website, right?
There is, yeah.
On the page for this algo. So there, we've
Yeah,
done
there
this
is.
type of
But
thing
every
more than
algo is a
once.
little different, so we'd like to go through this process on each one just to kind of show you. And as far as the settings, I have no idea if they're going to turn out good or not. They might not be good after we do it all. But that's why optimizations take time, and that's why it takes our team so long to do this stuff. So, all right, so we got our numbers back a little bit better here with we still have 5 as our top 3 for the swing strength. So clearly that's just going to get locked in at 5 at this point. Okay. In terms of the bars, we can go and look at each one. We have 45, 35, 50, 35. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go 30 to 55, since I know that that's kind of my range. But what would that be, 25? Yeah, let's do it. We're going to go by ones just to see what my top 10 are. I assume they're going to kind of be in a range. So diminishing returns or curve fit. Yeah, exactly. Exactly right. Steven said, do you ever hit a point of diminishing returns when you curve fit it, it doesn't perform well live? I think the more you want to have good settings, but you don't want them to be so good because that is based on what happened before. If it's so good on that specific time frame, it might not perform the next day or the next week or the next month, and you might get a little bit too far outside of sort of those guardrails. So you want to get a good back test, but something that is, just like anything with trading, you want consistency. You don't want one week where you make, granted, you want a week where you make 8 grand, sure, but you don't want the next week to make, to lose 6 grand, You want it to be steady. You'd rather make 4 grand a week in that case, right? Because then you have steady growth each week. So yeah, it's just not how this particular strategy works. With this one, the question is, why isn't the candle required to close before entering the trade? It's the CWAP is the trade in this one. And I can tell you, if you're using on, let's say you're using a higher time frame, maybe like a 15-30 minute, something like that, then you might want confirmation on your trade. But no, we've seen over and over that just trading at the edge of the zone is the way to go. And I've got loads of trades with this system, with CWAP in general.
Well, it's a pullback entry, so
Yeah.
you're going in the opposite direction that you want to trade to do the pullback. So it's entering at a level. So it's an intrabar entry at a level. So that's why it's in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
We're hoping for it to turn around, which it usually does.
Yeah. Usually good response there. All right. So yeah, so here's kind of what I was thinking is that, we're going to see a bunch that are kind of right in line with each other as far as like profit and so on. I'm going to go by net profit. There we go. All right. So the first one was max 55, actually. So what this is telling us is that these CWAPs that are still going for a long time are still valid. So in this case, I'm actually going to go 55 to, I mean, it's probably like, let's just do it this way. I'm going to go 99 to 100 and see what the difference is. If it's a major difference, then I'll maybe look to optimize it a little bit more. If there's no difference, then that tells me that really, it's not going to trade those. It's not adding that many more trades, then I'm just going to leave it alone at 55. I assume yeah, see, it added 4 trades, and those 4 trades were not profitable. So, I'll just leave it at the 55. So that tells me that's a good go-to number. It's going to encompass most of those trades, but not all of them, and that's good enough. Now we can go into targets and stops, and we can go look at those. What we want to look at, especially as well with this, is we want to look at, are we getting in early? Are we getting in late? Are we getting out early? Are we getting out late? Are we missing good trades? Are we getting into trades that, we really don't want? That kind of thing. So this one, stop, target, target there, target there. Got stops on the short. So the shorts did not work on this day in particular. So what does that mean? Well, that means the bigger picture may be telling us to get long. Why do you think that is? Well, you're trading at the lows, a major low right here. That's a major low. Let me go back and change the chart a little bit. Okay, so if we got a major low in here and it's trying to go short into that, it's not working. It's trading into a liquidity sweep. And that's something the algo's not going to know. There it is again, trying to trade into the low. There's really no way to filter that stuff out besides human intervention. You just need to know where are you at in the day, and that's where you come in as a trader. You might opt to intervene at certain times and say, this is not where I want to trade, let's say. This one just didn't work, looked pretty good. So let's go into these trades and take a look at them. So the other thing I want to check out is the time of day again. So 9:30 to 10 is the most active, made the most money, but what is my win rate is decent, but not the best. And interesting. Okay. We may look at blocking some of that time around the open. We may look at that, but let's go back to the chart for now. So now what I'm looking at with this one is stop versus target. Could I have gotten more out of the trade? Yeah. Is my stop in a good location? Yeah. Let's go to some of the other trades. Let's look at this one. Great location for the stop. Target could have gotten more. Let's go back to some more. Great stop. Could have been tighter, frankly, and definitely could have gotten more. So this is telling us that we may want to optimize our targets. So here we go. This one wouldn't have given us much more. This one didn't quite make it to the target, but I don't want to tighten it based on one trade. Let's go here. That one just didn't work. And in that case, stop could have been tighter technically. Okay, good location on the stop. I'm happy with that. Target could have gotten a little bit more out of it. But at the same token, this could have been a little tighter and we could have gotten paid sooner and gotten out of the trade, which is always ideal. But you can see like the location of the entry on these is great. Like these are great entry locations. Obviously, not every trade's going to work, but you can't pick a better location other than way down here. Well, that's trading into these lows. That's not a CWAP trade anymore. Okay, let's look at this one. Good. Definitely could have gotten more. So I'm going to optimize for two things. I want to optimize the targets, and I want to optimize for higher time frame filters based on directional bias. So the first thing I'm going to do is targets. I want to look at where can I put my target. So let's leave the stop alone because I'm pretty good with that. And let's go profit target. We can go minimum. Let's go 0.7. Maximum 1.5. But we're going to go by 0.1s. I don't need to go every little thing. And then that's fine. That's fine. Cool deal. Let's go ahead and run it. This one you can't really set a stop limit on that, so wouldn't really be yeah, the system's just designed to get in at the edge of the zone. So yeah, this is recorded. Yep. No worries, we'll get it to you. Okay, so this looks to be about the same as what we were running. Actually gave us the most profit. I don't see the settings on there. So yeah, so 0.8 was the best. I'm looking for targets. 1.1. Okay, so that's one way to look at it. So we know 0.8 is a good number. The other thing I want to do is I want to go by risk reward as well to see what that looks like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to disable the algo for the profit target. And I'm going to go to profit target risk reward. I'm going to go anywhere from 0.8 to 1.5. And I'm going to go by 0.1. Crap, forgot to do something. Come on, Ninja. Here we go. You can do it. What the heck? What? I don't get why it takes so long to cancel a back test. This has never made sense to me.
Ninja.
Come on now. Might as well just run the thing. Just let it run. Finally. Okay, so the problem is I left the parameters in there. So where is it? Here it is. Go 0.8, 0.8. Now let's try it. All right, so now it's running. Okay. So we got some better numbers back. Yeah, you don't have to be very drastic. So the question was how much do we really have to optimize once we have the settings? There's really not much. Once you have the settings dialed in, it's pretty easy going as far as optimizing from there. So profit target 0.8, 1.2. So where's that one? Let's see. Unfortunately, I don't know if I see it on the list.
What are you looking
So,
for?
the profit target risk reward. I don't see it on here.
You're talking about this, the setting for the target?
Yeah, I just want to see what's
It's
might
there.
be able to hover.
Uh,
I don't see it. Oh, here we go. I see it now. 1.3, 1.4, 1.1, 1.2. So 1 to 1.4 is the best. So really the question is there much of a difference, right? Like really no. This one had the lowest drawdown, but it also didn't have as much profit to offset. And a difference of $100 in drawdown is not that big of a deal. These two I probably wouldn't want to use. What was this one again? It was 1.1, and this one is 1.2. So yeah, I think we'll just leave it as 1.2. I think that probably makes sense. Okay, so targets are good. We'll leave it like that. Um, just for fun, we can optimize the stops as well. 0.7 to 1.3, 5.1. And let's optimize that one. Now, another thing you can do too while you're testing is you can make notes. And this is something I would suggest when you're optimizing. Make notes, ran, X, Y, and Z, and, this came up, and okay, that's great. Add some notes in there as you're going just to keep yourself grounded because sometimes you'll forget and you'll be like, wait, what did I test again? What do I need to, I can't remember. And so always good to keep notes. You can test trailing stops. I'm really not going to get into that here in this session, but what I will tell you is with trail stops, one thing that you want to consider is consider testing it separately from your standard all in all out trade because it really is kind of like a different position. And so the bottom line is this, let's say you leave a trail stop on bearing in mind that the risk is the same per contract, um, but the reward might be totally different. So you may end up with, with something that is not as profitable as the original trade. Well, then you're better off just trading more contracts on the original trade. But you test them separately is the moral of the story. Okay, so this one actually took more trades with a higher, was it higher stop? Probably lower stop. 0.9 stop. Took more trades, made more money, higher drawdown, and a little bit less profit factor. So this is kind of one where you got to go, well, what makes the most sense to you? I think, personally, if I'm going to get more profit out of it, we can do the math on the profit versus drawdown. Let's see what it is. Let's go 23.36 divided by 14. Okay, so that's 16.2, which is fantastic, by the way. And this one's a little lower. So we're probably still better off with this one. From a prop trading standpoint, probably still better off with this. All right, so 0.8 is still kind of the best number, so we'll stick with that. And really, at this point, we've got most of it dialed in. So the other thing I want to test for is, does it make sense to use a higher time frame directional filter? This won't prevent me from trading into support or resistance and that kind of thing. That's something that you kind of have to do on your own. But we do have moving average filters. Let's take a look at these. So if we go to true, we're going to see what we come up with. Obviously, I know what the numbers are if it's false, so I'm not going to test that. But I'm going to do a double EMA And I'm going to go based on a different time frame. Now this is about a 1 minute chart-ish, right around a minute. So I'm going to go to a 5 minute as my higher time frame, 9 and 20. If the 9's above the 20, it'll take longs. If the 9's below the 20, it'll take shorts. I don't know what else I had set to optimize here, but now you can't optimize the minutes, right? You notice that you can't optimize the time frame. So this cut out a lot of really great trades. So that did me absolutely no good. So we're going to first change any optimizations in there. There are none. Okay. So we're going to go true off, false on. Clearly no advantage. All right, so let's go through again. 5, 3.9. I just want to see if there's anything that's still set to optimize because something was optimizing. 8 risk reward. Oh, that's why. Well, that's actually probably a good thing to do. Do we use the algo profit or do we use the risk reward? So let's run these two by themselves and we'll see. But I think the risk reward was better.
Jim, you can actually optimize the time frame, but in optimization mode. But you have to check a setting down at the bottom
Huh.
that says optimize data series.
Oh, no. I was talking about the moving average filters.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah, no, but that's great to know.
I was actually doing that with volume bars yesterday. It's pretty nice, actually.
Let's do that, actually. That is a great idea. So, all right, so we go to, where is it? Optimize data series. Okay. No kidding. La dee da. Let's do it. So currently we have an 80 for our volume. Let's go 40 to 120 by tens. And then, you know what? Let's leave the algo and the other stops against each other and see what we come up with. 18 back tests, not too bad. We can get through that quick enough. So Jeff is the real brains of the operation around here. If you guys haven't figured that out, I'm just kind of the fake it till you make it kind of thing, you know. Just kind of
As if I
go
had
with
any
it.
brain cells left.
No, it's good. We come at it from different angles. Jeff is more the statistics and analytics, and I'm more the, trading visuals and want to see the charts, get my hands on it kind of thing. And so it's good. We work well together as a team.
Your way goes much faster than my way.
Oh, yes. Oh,
much
yeah.
faster.
Another thing I'll bring up here, since it's coming to mind, is, the thought of using a limit bar with a reaction. You can do that. You can see if there's a, reaction that has come in and stuff, but I'll tell you from years of trading with CWAPs, if you set limit orders, you're going to just miss out on good trades and you're going to get the trades you probably don't want. So just my take on it. I'll save you some time and effort there. Okay, so 80 is the number based on these parameters. 80 seems to be the number. We got more trades with a higher volume number. Figure that out. I don't know about that, but that's interesting. Still pretty decent drawdown versus profit. The profit factor is quite a bit lower. This one had decent profit, but it was still at 80. Um, this one is a lot less trades at 50. I think we're probably hitting the minimum trade size with some of these bigger or smaller numbers rather. I think we're hitting the minimum trade size, which is why we're not getting as many trades when we size down on the volume chart. The bars are smaller, and but really with crude, just knowing from trading it for years, I don't want to take anything less than an 8 to 10 tick trade because I'm just going to get crushed on commissions anyway. So yeah, so this seems to be the one to go to. So what we're going to do now is we're going to hit save and or just overwrite the one we have. And now I'm going to go to back test and everything should carry over because I've already run that. And yeah, these are kind of the good settings. So now that I'm in back test, I'm going to run the back test just to make sure it's all the same. And then I'll save it as this. Cool. So it came back the same. Looks good. Let's go to analysis. Times look good. We're good there. Day to day, pretty good. A little bit of a tough day on the first day there on the 19th. Um, you know, we had another tough day here on the 25th. Wonder if something happened on the 25th. Let's go look. April 25. Nope. Nothing out of the ordinary, just unemployment, nothing major. So no big deal there. Let's look at what was the other day? 318. We don't have settings for all these others. No, we usually start with NQ, ES. Those are kind of the main ones. GC we're working on now. Gold and YM, you're kind of on your own, honestly. I personally don't trade those. A lot of our team doesn't. But you'll want to do this process for those and see what you come up with. Yeah, so no issues on the news. Let's look at the equity curve. What do we see there? Yeah, looks good. I mean, nothing wrong with that. No major drawdowns. A little bit of one here, a little one here, there. We can go trade to trade and look at it as well. Biggest drawdown is maybe right here to here, from what I can see, maybe from here to here. Couple little dips, but it found its way out, made a new high watermark. That's what we like to see. And oops. You want to see that your balance is kind of growing as you go. So it started out in the red, came out, dipped a little bit, came out, new high watermark, keeps going up, 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 kept going up, new watermark. So we got to 71, down to 57, 74. Yeah, no, it looks good. So, these are probably pretty good. We can let's save it one more time just to make sure. And then I'll save it as a specific template. CWAP. This is going to be MCL. 80 volume. I think this was what, 318 to 515 Eastern. Cool. Save it. Good to go. So what did it do the last 2 days? Let's see. No idea. Do I really care that much? No, not really. It's 2 days. It's not going to make or break anything. But you can run it on different time frames or different samples of data and see what does it look like, and that'll kind of tell you if you need to do any additional optimizing on it. Usually I like to run an optimization a couple times. I like to run through a couple times on an optimization before I run it on, anything live. Run it for a week, re-optimize, make sure I'm not getting any drastically different numbers one week to the next. And as long as it's not majorly different, then I'm probably good. So let's see. So trades, winner, and then a stop. Looks like this one. Oh yeah, here we go. Net per trade. So yeah, 1 win, 3 losses. Nothing nothing crazy here by any means. So yeah, I think you're probably good. We can, even look at you can test out of sample stuff and look at it. I'm not going to go into all that now, but yeah, it gives you an idea. So that is the process to optimizing, and we'll go ahead and finish up here. Anybody have any last questions that we need to cover for you before we call it a day? Oh yeah, no, I'll give you the template. Yeah, let's run it again. So let's go to Discord and I'll post it in Discord, okay? Carl, let me have Pete reach out to you. I'll ping him right now. Carl, I do know that Pete's pretty booked up right now, so I don't know if he'll definitely have time today, but I'll tell him to try to reach out to you. Let's go CWAP. Where are you? CWAP. There we go. Okay. So let's add the file. Ninja Trader. You guys know where to save the templates and stuff, right? So you go to Ninja Trader 8, and you go to templates, and then you go to strategy, and then CWAP Algo, and this is where you paste them. And once you paste them, then you'll have them. So anyway, there we go. Incoming. So there it is. So you can grab it. Cool. Good stuff. All righty. Well, I think that's about it. Thanks, guys, for hanging out, and certainly thanks for the purchase, and we appreciate your business as always. I, eager to see what you guys do with this thing. I mean, we've had a lot of traders that have been doing some really great stuff with this algo for a long time. So yeah. So use it, love it. Let us know how it goes, and we'll see you on the charts. So everybody have a fantastic weekend. Yeah, any of the other templates will be available in the members area, I believe. Have they been added to the members area, Jeff? The other
I'll check. If
templates?
they're not, they should be by the end of the day. I'll check.
Okay, cool. Good. Awesome. Good. Glad you guys enjoyed it. Yeah. Good stuff. All right, cool. Great. Well, thanks, guys. Enjoy the weekend. Catch you soon. Take care, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Jeff.
See you. Bye.